Welcome to Three Witches and a Druid podcast, a Canadian podcast about paganism in today's modern society. And now, Three Witches and a Druid podcast present Shenka.
I was wandering weary, a lonesome traveler was I. Lost and tired, I stopped to rest beneath an ancient hawthorn tree. I drifted off into a dream to the land of the shadow mountain sheep. I have gone beyond the veil, never more to roam, never more shall I return to my mountain fairy home. I have stepped outside of time, where years they passes in a day. A rambling soul who found a home in the land of the shadow mountain vale. I have gone beyond the veil, never more to roam, never more shall I return my mountain fairy home. I shall dwell in Tirnalo forever and a day. Nevermore shall I return to the land of the shadow mountain vale.
Hello and welcome back to this episode of Three Witches and a Druid, where we are here sitting around the living room coffee table once again, talking about our experiences and our lives as pagans. And the topic this week we are going to talk about is pagans and money. I'm Margot.
And I'm Maeve. Gwen.
And I'm Brian. So I don't really have a whole lot to contribute to this conversation as a middle-class white male. Because I have a little bit of money. I'm not rich in any way. I don't understand that misconception of if you have a bit of money, you can't be pagan. I don't understand it.
Well, I think it's funny because historically, if we're going to go to Wicca, like even pre-Wicca, those guys had money.
Yeah,
yes. All those guys had the money.
That's how we came up with Wicca, because you didn't have anything else to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really funny. And then you had to be initiated and there was so few teachers, people flew to study with people and they flew for rituals and they, it could be certainly in North America, it could be halfway across the country to go further your studies and everything.
And in those days, flying was not as cheap as it is now.
No,
It's
wasn't.
cheap?
Well,
Yeah.
Comparatively.
Yeah.
And yet, maybe what would you say, like mid-60s, it kind of got not co-opted, but adopted by counterculture. That seems to be what people think of now when they think of pagans, they think of witches, they think of alternative religions. And yet, within my own experience, that's not the majority. I don't know. What's your experience, people? My own experience, the people that I know, they are usually middle class. They are primarily got their act together.
I find that because as pagans and witches, we're very accepting of so many different types of people that you get that big mix. You get everything, you get from people who are very counterculture, very, I don't even know what word to use. What word shall we use for people who, don't have money or much, or you know what I mean?
And there's people who choose, choose to live their lives without a lot of money.
Right.
And there's,
and there are people, all walks. I think it's all walks of life, and we're very, very accepting. There was a phase, I don't know if it's still going on now. I don't know, I guess I'm just older and past it, but there was a little bit of a phase where, I kind of got poo-pooed because I had a mortgage or whatever and all that. You're middle class white, what are you talking about? I'm like, what, so what? This is the way I live. Doesn't mean I'm less of a witch. What are you talking about? I don't know if that's still going on.
But I don't know, that's maybe not the majority, but just the vocal minority.
That could be it.
Like the people that feel that they have the right to question you about your finances or comment on your finances or your life choices or your clothing or whatever. Were they just the ones that were vocal, or were they really the majority? I don't know that they were
the majority.
Anyway.
The majority, but there was that whole phase of, the counterculture. And if you weren't living in the counterculture, well, who were you? You know what I mean? It was like, what? I mean,
which is interesting because you talked last episode about being beige, whereas I think I almost played the opposite.
Yes.
I was a responsible adult with a job, paying my rent, but I looked like the flaky, free spirit, don't give a shit about anything, long black wispy clothing witch. So I looked that part, but I was very responsible and still am very responsible in my life and try to be somewhat responsible financially. I mean, I don't always succeed at that, but do any of us?
How much mead did you buy?
I bought 15 bottles of mead in New Brunswick last week.
Adults with adult money.
That's right.
It's true. It's.
I can't say anything. I bought a $1,000 Lego set like a week.
You did not.
I did too. Guess what it was? The Millennium Falcon.
Oh, so you know how I feel about Star Wars. I'm such a fiend. Anyway, I'm a 55-year-old woman still completely obsessed with Star Wars. I don't know. So
There is,
little counterculture there. But that's the thing. In my subdivision and all my neighbors and all that, when I wear flowy stuff and this and all the wild colors, they think I'm very eccentric. Everyone thinks I'm super eccentric.
Do you think there's any sort of connection to... There's a lot of concept behind spells or prayers for your own financial gain, money. Do you think there's any weird connection to that?
Prosperity magic is probably, in my personal experience working in the shop, was probably number 2.
Behind love.
Yes. Yeah, the idea of doing prosperity magic or a prosperity spell was always, from me, accompanied with, you can't just do the spell and sit there and wait for it to happen.
Yeah,
you have to do the mundane work in order for this to come to fruition as well. Although I was thinking about this afternoon in my life in a very bizarre and twisted kind of way. It seems that much like how they say, if you're focused on love and looking for love, you'll never find it. When you stop thinking about it and stop looking for it, it will find you. That's kind of what's happened with prosperity for me, in a way. When I was so focused on it and so, like, remember my year of austerity, which went nowhere.
Yeah.
That helped me absolutely not. It seems almost when I stopped obsessing over it and stopped worrying about it, that's when prosperity started to come for me.
Right.
And not that I'm rolling in it or anything right now.
No, you're alive.
I'm alive. I'm paying my bills, and I'm doing a little bit better in my life right now than I think I ever have. Finally, after 58 years. So I don't know.
I think maybe a lot of the time when you say you're looking for it, I think there's a whole energy to that, and stress and anxiety, or possibly desperation.
Could be.
Even that might, that energy around you, it might.
Mind you, we also know people who are incredible manifestors who puts their mind to something and boom, it happens. And that's a skill I wish I possessed.
Yeah, me too. but when it comes to, prosperity spells and all that, it's kind of like, okay, there's the river and I've got a canoe, but oh, look, that prosperity spell is going to give me the paddle to get going in that river. You know what I mean? You get with the flow. You have to do the work, but it sort of gives a little extra jump to it. And like love, you got to be careful there too. Oh yeah, I can't even imagine that. But I have no problem with some people's. I don't know. Do people object to prosperity or money spells? Because if you're in a situation and you need money, do people object to that?
No, I suspect where a lot of that concept came from, as we already touched upon, was that for a very long time, paganism existed solely in that counterculture world. And
I'll take money.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody
no problem taking money.
As we were discussing in the previous episode, about using your knowledge and your skills to acquire money. How do we feel about that? We've talked about this before, about charging for tarot readings.
That. I think if it's not an outrageous, like someone gouging people to death. Like I have taught, the Wicca 101 kind of classes, and I did charge.
$1,000, but now I'm thinking you should rework your system there.
I think the most I charged was like $40 or $50 for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But I had to find a place to rent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I made very, very little money on it. But I won't lie. And the owner of Little Mysteries, Vanessa, told me a long time ago, she said, oftentimes they would give free talks, and they'd have all these people sign up, and they wouldn't bother coming. But
I was just going to mention
that's right. When people had paid for it, even if it was $5, they somehow value it more.
Yeah,
so I would never gouge people for it. But that was a few years ago that I did that. But you have to rent the place and all that. I'm not someone who myself needed to make a bunch of money, but I certainly wasn't going in the hole to do it.
No. And that conversation's come up a few times when it comes to ritual, community ritual, about charging a small fee. It's not like even a fee, just accepting a donation, because especially around here, eventually that bi-monthly or monthly ritual may end up having to move indoors, and that indoors is not going to be free.
Yeah.
No.
And ritual supplies as well.
Yeah.
If everybody's getting a gemstone, or everybody's getting a candle to charge, those are expenses that if people are able to contribute towards them, I think that in a way is also you putting your energy into that ritual and helping towards the success of it.
Right.
As well,
Yeah,
in
and,
a way.
and even if there is a little donation, sometimes people don't have any spare cash, and you realize that, and they're saying, "Oh, we're looking for like a $2 donation or something." Pass the hat.
Yeah.
or $5 donation. Well, you know, if I've got $7, I'll put it in because, you know, maybe there's someone there who couldn't afford it, but I'm very grateful someone's putting on a ritual.
Yeah.
You know, and it does cost. It's like, you know, however many dollars an hour.
Right. Yes.
To have
And unfortunately, a lot of the times people who attend these things don't, like, who may not have put on a ritual and stuff, may not realize that.
No.
Those candles cost money. That incense costs money.
Now, it maybe is not the same with this generation, but in earlier generations in this country, raised in a Christian home with a church with there's legacy money there that keeps the church going. And the church has always had donations and whatever, but everything is just kind of provided that people don't think about that. So then when they're hit with going someplace else, it isn't even on their radar that people are that these bills arise out of that, you know?
That's interesting. Just popped in my head that I was raised very Catholic and we were given $1 for allowance and half of that went into savings. Mm-hmm. Half of what was left went in the collection plate at church.
Yes, the collection plate at church.
And what was left is what we got to spend.
What a great way to
that
structure your money.
That really did help us learn, in theory, how to save money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was before the days of mead.
Yes. Well, mind you, I mean, I went to Europe saving half my babysitting money all through high school.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mind you, I was a nerd and had no social life, so I babysat every Friday and Saturday night, and half of everything I made went in the bank, and that's how I went to Europe for 3 months. So,
Good
when I
experience.
graduated.
Imagine going to Europe now and a babysitter.
It's all nutty business, that's for sure. But if I was doing an outdoor ritual, I wouldn't pass the hat. But if I was doing one indoors where I had to rent the place, I'm not prepared to spend $100 out of pocket on my own.
Well, it's funny because I've had that conversation with Druids in the past. That in the summer, that's when they do pass the hat because those winter months are coming. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So in Montreal, they pass the hat each ritual. They get a couple of coins here and there, and it just goes towards the renting of the hall in December, January, February, March.
It's budget billing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And, you know, thinking about the ritual that we did, which one was that?
Midsummer. No, was it or May Day? Whenever it was it May?
It wasn't that long ago, was it? Surely?
It was because it was Persephone and the rising
Oh my
up
gracious.
and all of that. Yeah, May. Anyway, we were outdoors.
Yeah, because I brought all those flowers for everybody to charge up. And so then I only paid for the flowers we used. But if we had had a huge crowd, that would have cost me a lot of money.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
So,
because in May, contrary to it might be spring festival. There's no
flowers to be had.
You might find a daffodil here or there. That's about it. It's not like summer when you can pick wildflowers everywhere. Unless it's something like, oh, I'm sending you a spell kit for $100. You know, a prosperity spell, give me $100. Well, the only person making prosperity off it. But a fair price for something that's not. I'm just not big on charging a fortune on things. You know, if I put $10 worth of, goods into a spell kit or something, well, then you can charge $20.
Yeah, you don't look at paganism like a side hustle.
No, I wouldn't. Some people do.
Yeah. That's
What the hell?
okay.
But even at the same time, your years of acquired and compiled knowledge that you have put together, that is worth something.
Exactly.
I mean,
understand.
yes, like you have resources out the yin-yang that you have collected over the years. From the radio shows, from your Wicca
Public
101
rituals.
classes, your public rituals. You have all that information.
I have a giant binder just of public rituals. I can't even remember them all. It's true. I never thought about it. See, now I'm almost on the verge of blushing if I blushed. I was just like, goodness, thanks for the compliment. Oh,
But no, there is value to that.
Yeah, to me, I just see it as, I'm just getting old and I've been doing it a long time. I suppose I never thought about it that way. Jeez. $1,000.
Now it's time for you to publish a book.
A book. What would I publish a book about?
Well, you have children's stories that you've already written.
I don't know where
You
they
need to-
are.
you need to
Auntie
get on
the
that.
Witch. Auntie the Witch. Yeah. The Auntie the Witch. stories.
Motto.
Motto. Isn't that Elsa? Motto.
No, that was
Rain.
Rain.
Rain. Oh my goodness.
If you sleep over, you can have the bed. Yes, the only grown woman at the 6-year-old's Barbie sleepover. Woo! And it was like waking up in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Because I woke up, I could hear them all around the bed, half whispering, "Is she awake? I don't think she's awake yet. I don't know. Let's see. Is she breathing?"
well, your Phil and I haven't had our sleepover
No, I
yet.
just want to go and have a sleepover.
Yeah, I'll come sleep over. I'll figure something interesting to do. So back to money.
Not exploiting children.
Yes, exploiting children.
That's a good way to make money.
There is, and some things depends on what you're trying to do. And some people, for $1,000, I would want to hope that week-long or weekend or whatever the heck it is would be really damn awesome.
Yep.
Like real, and if it is really awesome, and if you've got the money to spend, excellent. But for me, I think people who don't have the money to spend like that should also have options.
Right.
It's kind of like, and this goes to, the living wage kind of idea. Like, just because doesn't mean, and I'm myself perfectly prepared, so long as I'm not losing money, like if I have to rent a hall or something. Like,
It's funny you mention this because I was going to bring up the topic of sometimes a lot of the larger pagan organizations have membership fees. Like we as a grove, we have a grove fee. And anyone who's a member of the Grove pays their fee once a year. It goes in our little Lucky Charms pot and gets buried and no one finds it. We have a little treasure map. It's great.
well, but you use that for things for your group.
No, it's a pot of gold. We bury it.
Right.
No, we have our pot that we use for things.
Yeah,
But sometimes some of those organizations are expensive. So like ADF is, I think it's $35 a year American. But then OBOD, I shouldn't even say this because I might be wrong. OBOD at one point was $500 Canadian.
get out.
Yeah, and it was like,
But what did you get out of it?
well, we didn't do OBOD because it was too expensive, so we went to ADF.
But the curiosity is, what would a group who is charging such a large amount be offering in return?
It wasn't necessarily that they were charging a large amount. It had a lot to do with exchange rates because they're.
But still, anything more than $100 for a year, in my mind, is ridiculous. Anything more than $30 a year is ridiculous. But I mean, what are you getting out of it? Are you getting, we're going to put this in a big kitty and everybody comes down here and we're going to put you up in a hotel and feed you for a week?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No, it's just an organization membership.
It just depends on what you would get out of that. I mean, I understand paying for a membership or something.
Well, I think with OBOD, the fee, we're talking 16 years ago. I don't know what their structure is now. I believe it was the entry into their Bardic education system. I don't think it was necessarily a membership to OBOD, but you went through the Bardic to become a member of OBOD.
Okay, you got if you got a training program and all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and that's the same with ADF. Like it's you pay your membership fee, but then all the training programs on the inside are free. It's like I've done my dedicant and working on my clergy at the moment and stuff.
Well, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
That's reasonable.
And we know the Temple of Witchcrafts. I don't know what their membership fee is either, but
I think it's on the higher end of things.
There are people who do take exception to the high prices of things. There are people who, like Temple of Witchcraft, some people find it pricey. Now, everybody who takes it is absolutely satisfied with it, completely satisfied. But some people take exception to, why are you charging this much money?
Right.
Which, again, you can choose to spend your money where you want to or where you don't want to. That is 100% your choice.
Yeah.
I also do, and I don't know, maybe maybe I'm old-fashioned, or maybe the way I was raised too, and maybe because I have been involved in the community for a long time, I do feel a bit of responsibility, and I haven't done much about it the last few years, that people who are able to help others or teach others should be doing it and not charging money for it as well.
Oh,
You know
yeah,
what
and
I
that's
mean?
okay,
I think
too.
people, because I'm a big volunteer. I'm a huge person, a person who will hugely volunteer, not give a shit about the money. So I really do think that there should be people to talk to and people to help you out. And I am probably shooting myself in the foot really hard right now. And you're going to be going, what are you doing next?
The important thing
there should be help for people who cannot afford.
The important thing there, though, is to not shame those who do charge.
No.
Yeah.
If you can charge and people are willing to pay, yeah. Hopefully they're not taking advantage.
I was going to say, and the expectation is that they respect it.
Yes.
They respect that your time and your commitment to it as well.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, like I say, some of these are expensive, but I know, again, like Temple of Witchcraft, I've never heard anyone complain once.
Right.
About what they got for their money. They were extremely pleased. They got this and this and this and this and a mentor that they could contact anytime and on and on. And they're very, very pleased.
Yeah. But like when the Grow first started, we used to do Druid 101 courses.
Yeah.
Classes. And we charged. And now that we have a bit of a pot, we don't charge anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime we've done it in the last few years, they've been free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty good. I don't know. I think it's just how ethical is the person who's charging the money in the first place? Like, what are they, are they gouging people unnecessarily? But then again, if they can get someone to pay a bucket of money.
If people find value, you can get a car, you can get a beater that'll get you to and from work for $1,500. Or you can pay $75,000 for a car and go to work in style. Right? That's a massive difference. And I can spend that $1,500 and feel I got value for my money because I'm driving back and forth to work. And somebody else can spend $75,000 and feel they got value for their money.
Yeah.
And if we're both happy,
well, that's what I say
I just
to
hope
people.
that both cars are electric.
Yes.
Just make sure they're not polluting.
When people ask, I want to send flowers, how much, what should I spend on flowers? I can say, if you're looking for a cut bouquet, we recommend you starting at $25, and it goes all the way up to knock your socks off.
Yeah.
That's right.
And my thing is that I've got a little teeny putt that's kind of old, and I love it, and it gets me where I need to go, and it has been here and there and everywhere, but I wouldn't want anyone to think that just because they can't afford to pay for this class or that class or this or whatever, that you cannot do these things on your own. And one of the ways that I've experienced, and we've all been, we've done this, is say you found a book and it's got all these great exercises and thoughts. Get a few friends together. Everyone buy the book and meet every 2 weeks. And
Get it from the library.
Get it from the library, or goddess forbid, photocopy the chapter here and there. And you can just make your own learning group and people you can learn together. I don't want anyone to ever think that, I can't afford this. It's like the person who after 4 years still is afraid to cast a circle. You can learn these things together. Mm-hmm. Let's work through this book. I've been in several groups like that. Well, this is a topic I don't know much about. This person's recommending it. Everyone takes a look at the book. Yeah, this looks great. We get the book and we meet every 2 weeks and work through it. And that can be just as effective and just as meaningful as spending that $1,000 for a week. So that is a big thing for me. It's just because you can't do this doesn't mean you can't learn those things.
Mm-hmm. And I think also that sort of, I don't know if this is off topic but with the Pagan Assembly as well, is to be a resource to help point people in the right direction. And as with the Christmas hampers that were done, people donated what they could.
Yeah.
And some people donated a lot, some people donated a little, and everything all came together and all helped.
Yeah.
And was a huge success.
Yeah, we helped 8 families.
Yeah.
Make their Christmas holidays a little bit easier.
Yeah. And again, these were people that maybe, probably couldn't donate. Obviously, I don't want to say obviously, but didn't have the resources to donate, to contribute. And they were the people that we were able to help. Yeah. And that's just as important, I think, as a community for us to come together and be able to do that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, look, that is some of our take on money.
That was
And
wild,
paganism.
right?
That was but I just, if you can't afford that $500 for the weekend, buy a book and get some friends. That's a biggie for me.
Speaking of money, if you want to give us money,
Yeah, if you want to give us money so we can pay our beautiful editor in coffees.
she has one coffee a month. So we need to give her more coffee.
We need to give her more coffees.
Three Witches and a Druid podcast would like to take a moment to thank our amazing Patreon supporters. Today, we shout out to Danny, Tania, Sarah, Lore, Kay, Linda, and Jennifer. Without your generous support and contributions, we couldn't bring you this magical content, and we thank you for listening.
Well, look, thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. It is always a pleasure for us to get together and talk about these things and share them with you. And if you'd like to contact us, you can, Three Witches and a Druid Facebook page. You can ask us questions, leave comments, anything like that, anything you might like to see in the future. And, give us all kinds of thumbs up. And until next time, everybody, merry meet.
Merry part.
And merry meet again. Blessed be.
This has been Three Witches and a Druid podcast. Thanks for listening.